Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Connect Conversations. Hope you all are doing well. Today, we have with us someone who has been researching autonomous navigation, focusing on reinforcement learning and motion planning, and some of the areas of theoretical computer science and applied mathematics for the past 14 years. His secondary research focuses on enabling autonomous vehicles to perceive environments using only off the shelf cameras. Most recently, he's been developing autonomous driving technology that works in traffic with highly stochastic dynamics. His other startup, Deep Vision, is democratizing higher education by developing cutting edge online courses in the fields of engineering, science, and mathematics. He completed his BTech in electrical engineering from IIT Roorkee and has attended University of Alberta for MSc thesis in computer science. A very warm welcome to Mr. Sanjeev Sharma, CEO of Swaayatt Robots. Hello, sir. Welcome to Connect Conversations, and thank you for allowing us to share your journey on this platform.
Thanks so much, Chandra, for the warm introduction, and thanks so much for having me here.
Our pleasure, sir. So, sir, I will start with something that, I'll clear my curiosity first to begin the interview with. So, why did you choose autonomous navigation? If we talk about India as a market, we know it is, there is a general disregard for traffic rules here. There is a poor sense of road navigation. Overall, it is a very difficult market when it comes to traffic in generally. There is a very highly unstructured environmental and traffic management conditions. So what exactly inspired you to, pursue your career in such a, rather niche and difficult field?
Sure. So, I have been motivated. I did, as you introduced, I did my BTech in electrical engineering from IIT Roorkee. So, I had been interested in the field of robotics and AI. And in January of 2009, when I entered my fourth semester undergrad, I got introduced to DARPA Urban and Grand Challenges that happened in the United States in 2005 and in 2007. So some of the videos by the universities who participated over there, specifically of video by Team MIT, fascinated me towards the area of autonomous driving. And since then, solving the problem of autonomous driving in world's most difficult and stochastic traffic environmental conditions became a lifelong objective. So since then, I have been doing self-study, independent research into gathering all the knowledge when I was a student to be able to gather the mathematical sort of knowledge to be able to solve this problem as a part of my lifelong goal. So since then I've been researching and autonomous navigation became primary research area. So one of the fields that I heavily research in is known as motion planning and reinforcement learning. So these two areas became my research areas when I was an undergrad student. And as far as the India is concerned, there are two parts to it. One is, as you have said, India is the most difficult, traffic around scenario and imaginable for autonomous driving. So that's
Right.
what the objective was to solve it over here. The second part is what we are doing is we are developing this technology to be able to deal with very difficult, the core of the technology is aimed at enabling autonomous vehicles to negotiate the traffic that is as stochastic as the traffic dynamics on Indian roads
Right.
and environments that are as unstructured as the environments in India. So when you solve this problem, what you have is a technology that is able to solve the problem of autonomous driving elsewhere as well. Autonomous driving, even back then and today, is a fundamental research problem. And if you are able to develop technology that works in such environmental and traffic conditions, that's going to be able to work elsewhere as well. And that is what we are doing at Swaayatt Robots.
Okay, wonderful, sir. So, sir, if I talk about Swire, like you told us that you are developing a technology. So, is that all that you do? Like, you are just researching and developing technology. Like, what exactly is your work here, and ultimately, what is the mission? Like, what are you trying to achieve with Swire Robots? If I
Sure.
talk in a bit, if you tell it.
Sure, sure. I think most of you might be aware of already the Googles and the Teslas and the Waymos of the world.
Right.
So what they are doing is they are developing technology that works in structured environment and traffic conditions, which is the United States, the European, and any other developed country where the traffic rules are followed very strictly. What we are and even then autonomous driving is a fundamental research problem
Right.
and it is going to be so I mean, not just for us, but for every company that is trying to achieve level 4, level 5 autonomy, there is going to be research on at least until for the next 5 to 6 years as well. So what we have been doing, as you know, like I started Swaayatt Robots in 2015 when I came back to India. So I was admitted to PhD at University of Massachusetts Amherst. It was a computer science PhD program. I came back to India in 2014 and 2015 and started Soil. So since then, like we have been doing fundamental research in various areas of theoretical computer science and applied mathematics to be able to come up with the mathematical models that can solve the transferring problem over here. So a lot of work involves doing fundamental as well as developmental research, as well as we do a lot of demos. If you visit our website, there are like around 50 plus demos that we have done, and very recently, we did a transferring demo off-roads. I mean, there are very few companies in the world who have been able to crack off-road autonomous driving.
Wonderful.
Thanks so much. And if you look at the other demos that we are doing in the in the kind of city kind of traffic, you would see like we are dealing a lot with stochasticity, the kind of traffic dynamics that you typically see on India. So we are directly testing autonomous driving over here. So work involves both fundamental research, development of software, as a lot of testing as well as demonstration. Because demonstration is one way where we can put the research that we are doing over here in front of the world. That see,
Of
this is the
course.
level of
Yeah.
this is the level of technology that we have developed and the kind of fundamental research that we are doing.
Right, right, right. Great, great work, sir. Wonderful. So, sir, like you just mentioned, you established Swaayatt in the year 2015, 2015 to 2023 now. I mean, it's been a long journey, and the kind of field that you are in, आप जिस तरह की field में है उसमें बहुत सारे आपका challenges आएंगे in terms of research है, जैसे आप demo बताए, demonstrations हैं, technology development, and then also, you know, aligning like-minded people with your work. So, I mean, I'm sure you must have had your share of challenges. So, if you can just tell our viewers a bit about the kind of challenges that you have faced in this journey.
Sure, sure. So definitely, as you see, like I started Swat in 2015. हमें first funding 2021 में मिली, right? So
Hmm.
for 6 years, it was a bootstrap startup,
Right.
and that was the biggest challenge. Like, and the first funding that we got, the only funding that we got, $3 million in year 2021 from an investor in the US. So it took a US Silicon Valley investor to invest in an Indian autonomous startup.
Right.
So definitely, I mean, there have been challenges. One thing is like, in India, like there's a lot of funding for startups who are in non-research domain. But if you are
Hmm.
doing fundamental research, I mean, rarely there is any funding in India, and that is what I've seen over the past like few years. As like, I mean, we did not get funding in India, but we got a fund from abroad. As far as aligning like-minded people, I mean, until 2019, you can say I was working alone with few interns. Like there have been like but 50 interns who have graduated over here, right? From where which typically interns came to be able to get research experience and to apply that and maybe go abroad in the US. And any student, any person who came with that object actually did successfully achieve that objective. So aligning like-minded people, like definitely, because you cannot, it's very hard to convince someone to leave their
Yes.
job or research or whatever they're doing standard in the US or outside India, and to be able to convince them to come back in India. So I mean, it was a challenge. Mostly it was a fundamental research problem, and that is what I had been preparing since I was interested in the field from 2009 to 2014. I was in academic research setting. I did a lot of independent study and research to be able to build a mathematical background. So until 2019, I was able to develop the proof of concept technology single-handedly that we can build upon the entire startup, right?
Hmm.
So after funding, like I mean, we have been able to increase our team size significantly. And some of the other challenges are as usual. I mean, we are attacking the most difficult problem, perhaps of this decade and the next to come, when it comes to application of artificial intelligence. And we have been doing it like literally like without funding until 2021. And even if you compare the amount of funding that we have compared to the amount of funding that our competitors have, there's a factor of at least 100, right? And
Right.
even then, like we have been able to solve certain problems, do certain kind of demos that others in the West have not been able to do. So
Right.
there have been challenges. I think getting funding is one of the most challenging sort of aspects of the startup that I have tackled. Other than that, it's a fundamental research. So sometimes something works, something doesn't work.
Of course.
The
It,
ecosystem put, yeah,
the time consumption, and of course, not too
exactly.
much in the expenses that you undertake to. conduct all the
Yeah,
research.
until 2021, I invested, I think, around 80 lakh rupees of my own money to
Right,
sustain the startup.
right. Wonderful. Very commendable, sir. Very commendable work.
So,
Okay. So, sir, like we were talking about, aligning like-minded people, then of course bringing people together and solving some sort of an issue that India is facing. But again, at the end of the day, it is a business that you are trying to establish. So, has it been very difficult to pursue your startup, as a business and convince your target customer or audience, whoever they are, So how do you, like manage, which is the ultimate goal of profitability? At the end of the day, that's what we talk about when you run a business. And how do you keep yourself motivated to pursue?
sure. I mean, so as long as I can answer the last part of the question first. As long as I'm alive, I want to solve the toughest problems in the world. So autonomous driving is the toughest problem when it comes to AI. So that is what we are doing. So
Mhm.
that is a motivation. That is an inherent intrinsic motivation by itself. As far as the profitability business and the customers are concerned, so as I mentioned, like autonomous driving is a fundamental research problem, and typically, like I mean, there are like several applications of autonomous driving. For example, when it comes to India, there is an application in defense sector as well. And that is the reason why we have been doing off-road downstream, because off-road downstream directly has a defense application. So that is one.
Mhm.
Apart from that, like since we have built this technology and we have spoken to a lot of OEMs, I cannot name them in this meeting, like both in India and abroad, including like raising POC from some of the topmost European automakers. So we have done that as well, and all of that was done when we were unfunded. So after getting funding, our current goal, like we already have known the requirements of most of the OEMs that are in India, like what they need in terms of ADAS, what they need in terms of autonomous driving, and that is why, like, since autonomous driving and ADAS is a fundamental research fund, so first we are sort of doing that fundamental research and building product. Right, so profitability, as far as autonomous driving is concerned, is going to remain a fundamental research fund for quite some time. So I think we would be profitable in a few years down the line. So
Right.
our first, and if you look at it, the entire business opportunity over here, it is challenging and research on, but at the end of the day, by 2030, it is $1 trillion+ addressable market. And our mission with Swaayatt is to be, have at least 25% presence globally by 2030. So that is our mission, and that is our objective. So our objective may be very long term
Mhm.
in this sense, because this is a research problem, and that is the reason why, so in the earlier part of the question I answered like about funding as well. That has been one of the reasons as well why funding is difficult for such startups in India, because the
Right.
profitability in the revenue is a very long term
Yes.
objective here.
Yes. Yes.
But we have been able to convince our customers, when you have the technology, it's not that hard. Now we have, having known the requirement, like we are building a product that will compete with the best of the best in the world, both in India and abroad.
Right. Right. Wonderful, sir. Amazing. And then coming to my next question, if you can tell us a bit about Deep Vision, you have another startup which is in education sector. So if you can tell our audience a bit about that, what it is all
Sure.
about.
So, Deep Eigen was earlier an inherent education system at Swaayatt Robots. So, Swaayatt Robots में हम जो problem solve कर रहे हैं fundamental research problem है.
Okay.
And to be able to do that, आपको continuously like अपने आप को update रखना पड़ेगा. You have to continuously update with the state of the art, what is happening with the state of the art. So initially we started Deep Eigen as an internal education program at Swaayatt.
Okay.
In 2021, it became a separate startup of its own, right?
Okay.
So the goal with Deep Eigen is to provide the most cutting edge education online, predominantly in India and to the rest of the world as well, at fairly low prices. So what we are doing, let's suppose someone graduates with bachelor's degree in India from some of the top institutions. Typically, they go abroad for MS or PhD. And typically, I mean, if someone goes for PhD, top 10 graduate programs in the world, the kind of courses and the kind of depth that they're going into, we provide that level of depth through our courses in deep dive. And typically, like someone when someone goes abroad, they typically like take loan and do their study. So we are providing that level of education, which is not just education, because we are an R&D startup both at Swaayatt, and in part we are doing bit of R&D in Deepak as well. So we combine the state of the art research we are doing with the course content that we are developing. So we develop our own course content, and I am the lecturer of all the courses are from that we're running in Deepak. So we provide cutting edge courses at fairly low prices. The goal of Deepak is to democratize education. Maybe it may be too ambitious to say right now, but I hope in few years time we'll be able to develop an education system that runs parallel to the universities and education institutions, locally and globally. So this is the long-term objective with DeepIGN.
Wonderful, sir. So, sir, is it like currently how does it work? Like, do you have like just online classes, subscription type model? Like, do you?
Yes. Yeah.
So,
So currently,
those are like certificate courses, if I'm not wrong.
yeah, yeah. So one can like pay for the courses, register for the course, and take the course at their own pace.
Okay,
So these are all online courses because like offline, I think from a business standpoint, it may not be scalable.
right.
So online is like where everyone, no matter where you are, you have access to cutting edge content. And the way we run the program at DeepIGN is like we just like in the foreign universities, you have TAs and everyone to resolve your problems. Same thing goes over here. You have a lecturer who gives which is
Mhm.
myself,
Mhm.
who gives the lectures, and then वहाँ पे TAs हैं जो कि students के help if anyone is facing any doubt. So there are TAs and discussion forum and a lot of help available to to assist them and help them absorb the content that we teach.
Okay, okay. And so minimum qualification आपके लिए मतलब graduate होना is a course.
जस्ट यू मस्ट बी मिनिमम आपको एक अंडर स्टूडेंट होना पड़ेगा किसी
Okay.
भी मतलब यूनिवर्सिटी में सो द डिफरेंस बिटवीन डीप आईगन एंड टिपिकल यूनिवर्सिटी एजुकेशन अब्रॉड इज दैट बाहर वो एज्यूम करेंगे कि यू ऑलरेडी हैव लॉट ऑफ प्रायर नॉलेज इन द एरिया दैट यू आर परसुइंग वी एज्यूम जीरो प्रायर नॉलेज इन द कोर्सेज दैट वी टीच
Mm-hmm.
अगर कुछ प्रायर नॉलेज रिक्वायर्ड भी है that would be covered by one of our free courses. For example, we have three courses,
Okay.
and for those courses, there are certain prerequisites. So we ran a free machine learning course that anyone can take from anywhere in the world, and they can build the prerequisites as well. So that is, we want it to be entirely holistic experience for anyone who is,
Right,
getting engaged with deep learning.
right, right. Wonderful, sir. And wish you all the very best with Team Baigan as well. Also, sir, coming to my next question, what can we look forward to, in future from Swaayatt Robots? Like, if you can just give a brief gist, what are you planning next?
Sure. So number one, like we are solving autonomous driving, the toughest and boundary scenarios imaginable for autonomous driving. Number two, we are both on road as well as off road. So the immediate next goal of Swayat is to be able to execute 100 kilometers per hour autonomous driving. So typically India में drivers would hesitate to go 100 kilometers per hour on typical roads.
Right,
So we are going to do that autonomously. And जो हम terrain select किए हैं उसमें you will have 4 lane road, you will have single lane road and you have a mountainous terrain. And the vehicle has to keep 100. So this is kind of a statement that you want to put forward. If you want to compete with Soil, try to execute this. So this is going to be a benchmark demo that we are going to do on Indian roads. Apart from that, from as a long term, so we are going to execute in the next few months. As far as the long term objective is concerned, you would see the presence of Swayat, perhaps hopefully, as in the form of an application towards Indian defense, as well as you would be seeing our advanced driving technology enabling vehicles negotiate traffic both in India and abroad.
all right. Wonderful, sir. Wishing you again all the best to Swayat for all the future endeavors. And right before we leave you, sir, just before we leave you, any word of advice or, any your parting thoughts or any experience you can share with young Indian entrepreneurs who are looking forward to pursue their career, which is not in a field which is not very common. It is something very unique or niche. So, any word of advice for them?
Sure. So one thing I would say is that like if you're pursuing something very unique, very niche, and typically an area that no one has pursued before, things are not going to be easy. But what will separate you from the rest is that the intensity of the execution and the speed of execution. So typically you can have a speed, but not the intensity and the depth, right?
Right,
So if you can have both intensity and depth, you can outdo, almost any competitor anywhere in the world, right? So because and if you are whether you're single or whether you have a team, like look for like the kind of skills that you need to solve the problem that you are tackling. Like try to build like at least one of your team members should go like if it's a technology startup with uniqueness, you have to have the a team member that is aware of the everything that is happening as a part of the state of the art in the area that you're working, right? Because the speed at which the technological advances are happening at present is huge. So the intensity and the speed of execution would be critical. That will distinguish you from the rest. And things are not going to be easy if you are doing something very unique that has not been tried. Be prepared to do, like, because like if I mean investors would like to see, I mean, what you have done by yourself before asking for any amount of funding, right? So I mean this is all the and apart from that, like I think one advice that I would have like taken like from myself, you know, if I was asking my questions to myself 10 years back in time, meditate. Perhaps that will help you, you know, get along and tackle many of the objectives and hardships in life that you otherwise, you know, wouldn't be able to uh, in normal situation.
Wonderful, sir. I think those were definitely words of wisdom. And I am sure all our viewers would also agree. I think they definitely would have learned something new from your journey and experiences I did. So thank you so much, sir, for sitting down and sharing your inspiring story with us. It was an absolute honor to have you here.
Thank you so much again, Antra, for having me here.
Right. And to all our viewers, if you would like to know more about Swaayatt Robots and its work, you can connect via companies or Mr. Sharma's social media links, which we have shared in the description box below. If you have any sort of feedback for us to improve on or just would like to show some appreciation, please share your comments in the comment section below and do follow us on our other social media channels whose link again have been mentioned in the description box. Don't forget to hit the like button on this video and subscribe to our channel for more such interesting conversations. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you in our next episode.